You are Locked On Wolves POSTCAST, part of Locked On Minnesota on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hold on, Jack. Hold on. My eyes are still adjusting from that key lime green court I just stared at for 2.5 hours. All right, there we go. T-Wolves dominate the Jazz, 137-97. That's your final at the Target Center. Wolves move to 5-4 on the year. What's happening back in the lab, back at it, another T-Wolves postcast. All part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which, by the way, thanks to you guys, is now the #1 sports podcast network around. How about that? That's Jack Borman, Wolves expert, NBA expert. Give him a follow on X at JRBorman13. I'm Luke Inman at Luke_Spinman. And, of course, got to follow Ben Beacon, host of the Locked On Timberwolves show. Remember to like and subscribe. Find all the video on the Locked On Wolves YouTube channel and, of course, all the audio wherever you find your podcast. Lots to get into, Jack. Wolves dominate. Just domination in game one of the in-season tournament. We'll talk about that. Plus, how'd the non-Rudy minutes fare tonight this time around? But first, Jack, just off the top, like we always do, this was like varsity squad versus not even the JV team. This is like varsity versus freshman out there tonight. Right from the opening jump, I mean, Wolves slammed on the gas and they just never let up, right? Top to bottom, total domination, offensively, defensively. Julius with his second triple-double of the year. J-Mac with another nice offensive performance. He had 22. And then the king, Ant-Man, 37, because sure, why not? Give me your big picture, right? 60-second kind of knee-jerk reaction just to kick things off. What's the one or two things that really stuck out the most in game 9 of the season? And I guess Ant's second game back from that tweaked hammy.
Yeah, I think, obviously good for the Wolves to get off to a 1-0 start in NBA Cup West Group A play. Yet to play the Kings, Suns, and Thunder, but it's a pretty easy group outside the Thunder. I mean, it was important to not only win, but to run the score up because point differential is the second tiebreaker and points scored is the third tiebreaker behind head-to-head score. So really important for the Wolves to win and win big against these bad teams in this situation. But the biggest takeaway for me was just that I thought Ant and Julius both did a tremendous job of initiating the offense and blending kind of who was initiating, who was scoring. I think the two of them just did an excellent job of keeping everybody in a rhythm all night long. And the offense had a great zip and a great flow to it, regardless of what lineup combinations were out there. And I think those two set a really strong tone, Ant especially in the first quarter and Julius especially in the second quarter. The Timberwolves got out to 43 points in the first quarter, which is the most they've scored in any quarter this season. They had 22 assists in the first half, which is a great mark. That was a season high for them, and I think that was indicative of the way that their two best players played in a super unselfish way, and I think was kind of the proof of concept, if you will, to the not necessarily needing a traditional point guard theory that Chris Finch is kind of running with right now. And then you talked about it, J-Mac, right? Jaden McDaniels, last season, Jaden McDaniels took 10 or more shots in only 41 games. And this season, he's done it in all 9 games, which is tremendous to see. And it's just not really true that the teams are going to be able to successfully hide small point guards that don't play defense on Jaden McDaniels. And I think, Ant and Julius both did a great job of looking for Jaden and finding him and wanting to get to him early because they knew that was a matchup advantage for them. And, all three of those guys were in double digits in the first quarter. And, again, like I said, for Jaden to take that next jump as an offensive player, as a scorer, I think really increases the ceiling of this team, but it also raises the floor of this team because that if either, Julius or Ant may not have it, that he can scale his game up. And, for him to, like I said, take 10 or more shots in all 9 games this season, he's shot 50% or better in 6 of those 9 games. And Jaden McDaniels, I believe, is now 11 for his last 17 from three over his last 5 games. So, just really good stuff from the Timberwolves' big three tonight.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Offensively, really it just hasn't been the problem so much as defense, as we've talked about night in and night out. Let's get into the biggest turning point from this.
Time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the turning point.
All right, dude, not often we can look in the camera and just say with a straight face, the opening tip might legitimately be the turning point in this one. J-Mac with that thunder slam in like the first 5 seconds, and who's getting who, man? From that point on, it was just off to the races. But biggest turning point in this one, when was it and why, Jack?
Yeah, it was for sure that opening tip. I don't think I've ever seen that where, it wasn't a loose ball. Jaden just went up to, I think it was Keontae George, just ripped it out of his hands and just went and threw it down. I think that just set a great tone that the Wolves were, not there to mess around, that they were coming in to take this game really seriously on both ends of the floor. And I think that set a great defensive tone for the Timberwolves. I mean, they allowed 6 points in the first 7 minutes. They built a 26-6 lead by like the 5.5 minute mark, which was, I think kind of put everybody at ease in the stands and just kind of let everyone have a party from there on. And I think, I was talking to a couple of people on Media Row, like, is this more that the Jazz offense is this bad or that the Wolves defense is playing well? And I've sat up here and criticized the Timberwolves quite a bit early on in the season, but I think the Timberwolves defense just showed that they were coming to play tonight. And I really liked the way that they all flew around. I thought Rudy Gobert got on the perimeter and contested shots really well. I thought, Jaden and Julius and Ant and Dante too, all did an excellent job playing the passing lanes and making it difficult for the Jazz to, make passes that they wanted to make and had to go to their kind of second or third options and just disrupted the flow of the Jazz offense early. And the Jazz started 2 of 13 from the floor, just 1 of 6 from 2, 1 of 7 from 3. And they had more turnovers than assists halfway through the quarter. So, and then, also, you got to give credit where it's due to Julius Randle guarding Lauri Markkanen. Lauri Markkanen only had 1 point through the first, half a quarter, a little bit more than that. So I think when it allows when you don't allow the other team's best player to get into the game, I think it just makes it more difficult for other guys to find a rhythm. And the defense I thought tonight was tremendous. They allowed a season low 97 points and had 20 stocks, which is a great number. Steals plus blocks. They had 10 of each. I think just kind of speaks to the defensive activity, outside the rebounding, which we'll get into a little bit later. But I think you have to be really encouraged, not only from what we saw from the Timberwolves' 2 best players on the offensive end of the floor, but also just with the entire team, how they moved around and played defensively. Because this is a team, Utah, that has talent. I mean, Lauri Markkanen came in averaging over 30 points a game. Keontae George is averaging a little less than 24 points a game. So there's plenty of firepower there if you don't play defense. But the Wolves played defense tonight, and that was good to see.
This is the Locked On Player of the Game.
Again, kind of already touched on it, but tonight's game MVP, Jack, Julius with a triple-double, his second of the year, I want to say. J-Mac with a cool 22. He's been money offensively as of late. And then, of course, the big cheese, Ant-Man, 37. He owns the Jazz, dude. 117 points in his last 3 games now versus Utah. But got to pick one. Who was it? Why?
Yeah, it's for sure Anthony Edwards. I think, I mentioned this in the last postcast that we did, that I thought, despite the Wolves ultimately losing to the Knicks, that Ant playing point guard got the team into their sets really, really well in the early part of that first quarter at Madison Square Garden and got the Wolves off to a really nice offensive start. And he did the same thing again tonight. I thought that he and Julius Randle, but mostly Ant, I think got guys organized where they needed to be and played really well out of pick and roll with Rudy Gobert and made smart decisions that got everybody a touch and was involved in the game from the jump, which was great to see. And I think when everybody feels like they're involved, everybody feels like they're contributing to what's going on that end of the floor, I think it also incentivizes guys to play harder on the other end of the floor. And you'd probably say that's unfortunate that's the case, but that's the reality. And Ant deserves a ton of credit for the way the offense played in the first quarter and really for the rest of the game because of the tone that he set as a playmaker on that end. And then as a scorer, right? 37 points in 26 minutes. That's about 1.42 points per minute. That's the best mark in any game of Anthony Edwards' career. It's his second career game scoring at least 30 points in less than 30 minutes played. And, we've talked about the 3-point volume being kind of a point of contention in the early part of this season. But Ant got up 10 threes in the first half alone. He was 6 of 10 from 3. And I think the fact that he hasn't abandoned that part of his game with, adding to his game kind of at the rim and in the mid-range, I think is super important because the Wolves, again, 36 threes they got up tonight, not necessarily a great number, but they shot 47%, made 17 of those 36. And, and that was really important, especially in a night where Dante DiVincenzo just didn't really have it. He got hit in the face a couple times early in this first quarter that I think just made him really uncomfortable. And I think he was in a lot of pain throughout the game, had to switch masks too. And that comes after, Dante took just 4 shots. All of them were threes tonight after 3 straight games of getting up 11 made threes. So I think for Dante to kind of have a night off, for Ant to be able to slide into that role and take a bunch of threes against a team in Utah that's been the worst 3-point defense in the league, at least in terms of 3-point differential and 3-point attempts allowed per game. They're last in both of those marks this season. So I think to really kind of pick at one of their weaknesses and apply a lot of pressure and basically double them up on the 3-point line was really important, and Ant deserves a lot of credit there.
Well said there. Plenty more deep dive, including the non-Rudy minutes, how those look tonight. That's all coming up right after this. Quick reminder, tonight's episode brought to us by Monarch Money. Ever go check your bank account and go, where'd my money go? Dining out, online shopping, entertainment. So easy to lose track, isn't it? Well, that's where Monarch Money comes in. Not just another budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, spending. It's all in one place. So you stop just managing your money and instead you start building some wealth. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. Code LOCKEDONNBA for half off your entire first year. This episode also brought to us by Prize Picks. Prize Picks, without a doubt, most fun I have playing daily fantasy because you can win up to 25 times your money this NBA season. Why I love it. So easy to play. All you got to do, you select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projected stats on any given night. Plus, they now offer Apple Pay, quick and easy deposits into your account all season long. Right now, go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA. Use the code LockedOnNBA. You're getting a first deposit match up to $100. That's promo code LockedOnNBA at prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA. 100% bonus match up to $100. Last but certainly not least, this episode is also brought to us by Built. Nobody likes paying rent, but if it's a must, you might as well get something for it. That's where Built comes in. Built's changing the game by turning your rent into things you can actually use. When you pay rent through Built, you earn flexible points. They can be redeemed towards hundreds of hotels, airlines, future rent payment, your next Lyft ride, you name it, they got it. Turn your rent into rewards and make points around your neighborhood by going to joinbuilt.com/LockedOnNBA. That's joinbuilt.com/LockedOnNBA. Use the link so they know we sent you. All right, before we get into what we'll be talking about, just a quick hitter here I want to touch on. I guess I just want to circle back to what we dove into last game on Wednesday night versus the Knicks, the non-Rudy minutes. That was a huge topic after that game. Those non-minutes have been, call spade a spade. They've been plaguing this team, Jack, like some gangrene, man. And against the Knicks, it was clearly a problem, kind of an Achilles heel that just needed to be addressed. I'm curious about what Finch has said about those non-minutes, if anything, and then how'd they look tonight in those non-Rudy minutes as well.
Yeah, they looked a lot better in those non-Rudy minutes. And I think the biggest thing that you can control in those non-Rudy minutes is just having really good activity on the defensive perimeter. And that if they can contain the ball better, I think that kind of removes some strain on the rim protection. And if you can have better perimeter contain, then you don't have to have as many guys rotating behind the play. And then guys are out of position on the defensive glass, which allows people on the backside of the play to corner crash, or, if a backside help defender has to come over and contest a shot, it could leave a power forward or a center right there to clean up the offensive glass. And so I think tonight the Wolves did a better job of containing the ball on the perimeter. I think the next step of that is still just being able to rebound a little bit better. I think for the Wolves in this game tonight, their offense was fantastic in those non-Rudy minutes. They had an 150 offensive rating, which is, again, tremendous. 115 is league average. About anything above 125 is incredible. And so they won the non-Rudy minutes 66-50. So they were plus 16 in 19 minutes that Rudy did not play tonight. And then for the defense, they had a defensive rating of 109. So I think that was obviously great to see that was much improved from there, because it's been sitting north of 140 in those minutes. So that was really good to see overall from the Wolves. And then in those non-Rudy minutes as well, I thought that Guys like Naz Reid and Julius Randle both did a really good job, as well as Jaden McDaniels, of attacking the offensive glass. Rudy did that well in the minutes that he played. But the Wolves tonight, 13 offensive rebounds for 18 second chance points, helped them dominate in the paint 60-42, which was good to see. And that's against a Jazz team that's been really good rebounding the basketball on both ends of the floor. They're one of the 3 or 4 best offensive rebounding teams in the league. As you saw, they had 16 offensive rebounds tonight. But they're also top 10 in defensive rebounding percentage. So, that was good to see. Again, the biggest thing for the Wolves is if you can contain the ball better than how they have been, it produces less strain on the backside of the defense to have to rotate and help, and just keeping everybody in better position puts you in better position to rebound. And so I think tonight was obviously against a far inferior opponent, but it was definitely a good step in the right direction in those non-Rudy minutes.
This is what you'll be talking about.
All right, here's what I'll be talking about. You're 4-4 coming into tonight, right? Just kind of got smoked by the Knicks on Wednesday, your last game. 500 team. Ant tweaked the hammy and then didn't really look himself in that first game back on Wednesday. But tonight, again, bad team. I get it. Everything was clicking, though, pretty much for everyone. Offense, defense, you name it, they had it. Could this be one of those games that we look back and say, maybe that was a turning point early in the year and kind of got this team just cooking, just rolling with a little bit of momentum? And then part 2, the people want to know, Jack Berenger, the 17th overall pick. He lives 6 points, a block, and a dunk. Quick thoughts on the rookie who finally got some time.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we've seen it with guys in the past with Chris Finch, namely with Nickeil Alexander-Walker when he first came over from the Jazz in that trade a few years ago, that, playing really well in garbage time minutes is the way to get into the rotation if you're not presently in the rotation other than an injury. And Berenger did a really good job tonight of impressing on both ends of the floor. He had 6 points, made all 3 of his shots, had some really nice finishes inside. I love how hard he rolls after setting a screen, just kind of explodes after that contact. And I also thought that he did really well matching up against Slow-Mo, right? Slow-Mo's a guy who can handle on the perimeter, obviously, as we all know. We love him. And also plays at kind of an interesting pace that can lull guys into fouls. And I thought that, I thought he did a good job in that matchup. And I think, again, I am of the opinion that I would rather see, Johan Berenger in these minutes than Rob Dillingham, just because I'm a bigger believer in that the Timberwolves need more of what Berenger brings them than more of what Rob Dillingham brings them right now. And I may be, in the minority on that, and that's totally fine with me. But I think you could also have that, kind of last rotation spot. Maybe a night you need more offense, you go to Rob, and a night you need more defense, you go to Berenger. And I just think having Berenger as an option that you can go to if the rim protection in the non-Rudy minutes and the defensive rebounding in the non-Rudy minutes is really poor, that you can just go to that. And I think he gives you another element that could help you in a playoff series, whereas I just don't know that Rob Dillingham does. I'd love for Rob to, prove all of us wrong, but I think it just seems like he's fighting more of an uphill battle than Berenger is. But yeah, I just think, again, overall from tonight, if Ant and Julius can continue to initiate the way they did tonight, the way they did against the Knicks, I think that the point guard problems is going to be just not as big of a problem as a lot of people think it might be. And I think, again, if there's going to be some ups and downs with it in the regular season, and that's totally fine with me. I just think as long as the Wolves are one of the top 6 teams, it doesn't really matter. But hey, just do it now. Get some lumps out of your system now so that you're prepared for the playoffs. And I think too, it kind of allows Dante and Jaden to play in their natural positions, and they've been excellent playing in those natural positions, especially Dante, since he's been playing pretty much exclusively off the ball. And then I think also it'll just be more comfortable in the late game for the Wolves too. That you wouldn't have to rely on, playing in the late game without a point guard after you have a point guard the whole game, because you're going to have Ant and Julius out there. So, overall a fantastic night for the Wolves. I think you've got to be happy regardless of who they played. That how many times have we asked against a poor team that the Wolves really run the score up? Yeah, and that's exactly what they did. Controlled what they can control. 1-0 in Group A, and
we'll
ready for more.
We'll take it. Fantastic points as always, Jack. Fantastic game for the Wolves. They cruise past the Jazz in game 1 of the in-season tournament, 137-97. That's your final. 5-4 now on the year. Much love to all you guys, all the everydayers out there that always make us your first listen. All you guys come in the chat with us. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. Go follow Jack at JR Borman 13. And we'll catch you Sunday in Sacramento, West Coast trip. That's an 8 p.m. tip. Until then, signing out.